Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the space. Today's episode is going to be focusing on asexuality and disability and that intersection. And I would like to welcome you guys to this interview with my friend Dorian, who we have. Dorian, thank you so much for coming and sharing your experiences with us on this intersecting topic.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
So, to begin, again, like last time, we have some pre-decided questions that
Mhm.
Dorian and I have discussed that we will move through at our leisure. So, Dorian, to start, um, to clarify, what is your orientation
So I am asexual aromantic.
and how would you define asexuality?
Asexuality, on a superficial level, asexuality is what people say it is. You don't feel sexual attraction. Um, but also asexuality, it also involves being outside of the societal matrix of the norm of how sex works. That people will want to have sex, that people will want to attire themselves in order to find someone who will want to have sex, or that is like a huge step in your life to have sex or lose your virginity. Asexuality is in being outside of in 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 not feeling sexual attraction. You're outside of that paradigm.
Mm, I like how you phrase that, the paradigm of sexuality and like allosexuality in feeling sexual attraction. Asexuality is outside of that. I think that's a really
Mhm.
clever way to put it. So we're here talking today about asexuality and disability. So I wanted to ask, how has your experience with disability impacted the way you see the world?
So I'll just lay it out for you. I became disabled when I was 14. And then I had a major remission between the ages of about 18 and 21. And then this year I've had a significant resurgence that is somewhat related to the first time, but not completely. So, um, in outlining my experience, I will say that. But what I've learned from how disability has changed the way that I see the world is it's made me realize how afraid people that a lot of the ableism I've faced is based on how afraid people are to become disabled in
Mm,
some way. Um, you know, uh, a lot of the way that people have treated me is it functions as a way to distance them from you and um, as a way for people to shift the blame uh, of an illness happening onto the person who's suffering with it, so that they can be like, well, I'm not lazy. Um, I'm not a, hysterical woman, so obviously that would never happen to me. Like
mm,
I'm not lazy. I exercise and eat healthy, and therefore this could never happen to me, which is profoundly untrue.
yeah,
People can become anywhere from, mildly disabled to bedbound at any time.
yeah, that makes sense. That it warps your perspective of
Mhm.
people interacting, as you said, with your experience, where it almost feels like people are projecting
Yeah.
their own like insecurities
hmm
onto, well, this could never happen to me.
hmm
That's
Especially with fatigue syndromes, people want you to exercise, which is it's actively counterproductive, which is very frustrating to me. But yeah, to me, it's like a way of shifting the blame. It's like, well, we have decided that the only treatment for this exercise. And so if you can't do the exercises, that means that this must be just your fault if you can't do them. So deal with that.
Jeez, that sounds really difficult.
hmm
So now with asexuality and disability, Tell me about your experience with the intersection of those two identities.
Yeah, so um the the interest in this is that um disabled people must be doing everything that we can to not be disabled all the time in order to be a person.
Yes.
So if if you are not doing that, then you are disabled forever. You're not quite the same. You're not quite a person in the same way that other people are, in that, you are degendered and desexed. So even if you look at bathroom signs, men, women, wheelchairs, right? And yeah, so you are just a wheelchair. You're not like a person who is like a sexual being or a gendered being in a wheelchair, which I'm sure is very vexing to people who do want to have sex, to be thought of in that way, um, almost childlike. But as someone who, I'm asexual, gender doesn't matter to me. I've always worn girl clothes, so I wear girl clothes. I don't really care. I'm just here. So I'm sure that would be um vexing for someone else. But as an asexual person, it's almost to my advantage. The only thing is that, you know, you feel almost bad because it's like you're perpetuating stereotypes about your own disability. If you're on, Tumblr or TikTok and you're in discourse, it's like, why you can't be that. You're not allowed to be that because that's what everyone wants you to be, and you got to be sticking it to the man.
Yeah.
Another disadvantage of it too is that, sex is like a very adult thing, and obviously, and it's easy to feel like you're not an adult in the same way as everyone else if you don't have sex. And what has been, emerging with me since the last time we did our interview is I've had more and more cognitive issues and cognitive processing issues. So I've been just really, my mind has just felt super slow, and it's kind of felt like things are happening around me, and I can't be involved in them because I'm not caught up enough to do that. And including being asexual, it kind of feels like, I can't necessarily catch up to the degree that I would like to in, adult activities, employment. I used to be a figure skating teacher, and other adult things. So it can make you feel like, even though asexuality is, I wouldn't have sex even if I could because I don't want to. But it does kind of make you feel distanced from the adult world and the world of people who make their own decisions and things, and you're involved in society, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's a really valuable thing to remember,
Mm,
for able-bodied people and for allosexual people. Or these two parts of someone can lead to the world viewing them as outsiders in
mm,
almost this innocent lens, and in trying to feel more than just a kid
mm.
or
A
someone,
spectator.
a spectator. Yes, it's like, no, I'm still here. I'm still in the conversation. It's just in a different way.
Hmm.
Thank you for sharing that. That perspective is very valuable, and I'm glad that have that you are sharing this with us. And
Thank you.
you know, there are so many forms of being.
Hmm.
Every single one of them is different, and every single one of them is okay.
Hmm.
And that can impact the way someone interacts with the world.
Yeah.
So, along that same vein, what do you wish that people knew about, like, both asexuality and disability?
Um, I wish people knew that they're not, well, it's starting off kind of obvious. Asexuality is not a disability. It was in the DSM-5. It's not a disability. It's a separate thing. Um, uh, and I kind of wish that people knew that they're not related, you know. Obviously, there are people with, intellectual disabilities that can't consent, and they should never be taken advantage of. Um, but, disabled people can be sexual, and disabled people can also be asexual. And I think in acknowledging that, you have to acknowledge the personhood of disabled people, which is hard for a lot of people, and the variance, in the same way that every other group of people is varied. So yeah, just asexuality and disability, they they aren't related in their cause, but when you experience both, they become interrelated in your life.
Yeah, yeah. And I think you brought up in our last question the point of like even within the disabled community, it's like you can be both allosexual and asexual and
Mm,
also have a disability that
mm,
are completely separate.
mm.
And just because you're an asexually identifying, person with a disability doesn't mean you're not trying to stick it to the man and
Yeah,
like support
and
this.
be an anti-ableist. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and support the movement that has been, you know, people with disabilities still desire sex or can still desire sex. It's just a different way of being that isn't trying to negate that at all. So now let's jump back into time.
Mm.
What what advice do you think you might give your younger self or someone younger than you who may be identifying as or who may identify as asexual and also
Be disabled. Um, I would tell a young disabled person, I think that, you know, uh, you're, like I said, you have personhood. You know, if you are asexual, it's not like you can only be one thing.
mm,
Um, and being asexual doesn't mean that you're giving into a stereotype. It doesn't mean that you're not an adult. You're not a person with who can make their own choices. And it doesn't have anything to do with your disability at all. And if people try to tell you that you should have sex or shouldn't have sex, that's not their business. And asexual people with disabilities deserve freedom and agency.
hmm yeah, and I'm sure that has been hard learned, as
Mm,
you said, interacting with different people and certainly interacting with platforms online,
mm.
you know, the
Because, discourse on the internet is upside down world. Yeah, don't look at ace discourse. I would say that. Don't bother with it. Please don't. Just do something else with your day. Go outside if you can.
um that is such valuable advice.
Mm.
Not only not to like don't pay attention to what you see on the internet, but also, just take things as they come and don't forget like you're a person too.
Yeah.
And to
And I'll give a bonus one here. To non-disabled asexuals. I think, the reason that this podcast is, being made is to kind of raise awareness to this. And I would say that, ace pride events are pretty rare, but I think, be mindful of your accessibility if you're organizing one.
mm,
And make whether that's place to sit, ramps, obviously, um, things like sign language interpreters or live captioning, um, braille or tactile markings, and accessible bathrooms. Those are more important than you think.
mhm.
Both regular ADA accessible bathrooms and full accessible bathrooms with lifts and tables. Those are all super important. So yeah, I would say to people organizing ACE events and Pride events, try your best to make things accessible. Oh, and make things online so that people who are housebound or bedbound can access them and come see you.
Yeah, absolutely. Call to action, guys. Don't forget that it's only fun if everyone can attend.
Mm,
If it's only for one type of person, it's no longer fun. It's no longer as meaningful.
yeah,
Thank you for that, for putting that out there.
because that's like hard, even in our university library, there's bathrooms that are marked with the accessible sign. And I'm in a power chair now, but I had a manual chair and it was 14 inches wide. It's the smallest that they make adult manual wheelchairs, and it could not fit.
No.
And it's like, I'm not, okay, it's not accessible. There's an accessible bathroom in the building, whatever. Why does it have the accessible sign
Yeah.
on it? But yeah, also, I'm just gonna, the ninth question, what's your favorite thing about your identity?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, happy Disability Pride Month.
Yes. Happy
It's
Disability Pride.
July, Happy Disability Pride Month. Uh, Kneel for the flag. It stands for our freedom. Yeah, check out the Disability Pride flag. It's really neat. Um, uh, my favorite thing about my identity is, I guess, the same thing that makes me uncomfortable with it, which is you are kind of separate from how people usually view society. So, even in high school, people would ask me all the time for romantic advice, and I guess they just wanted an outsider to give them advice. But yeah, kind of being put on the outside of things gives you an outsider view, and it makes you realize um, how superficial a lot of the things that people strive to be are.
Mm,
So, um, even even in the face of oppression or um, a metanormativity, heteronormativity, um, this is cheesy, but like be
let it be
yourself,
cheesy. Yeah.
you be yourself. Even though, to some degree, you are free to some degree. Yeah.
That's perfect. And you know what? Let it be cheesy. Let it be whatever it's gonna be because it's gonna be you,
Mhm.
which totally to your point, that is so beautiful and thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
It can be, as you said, it can be both beautiful and tough at the same time.
Hmm.
That just makes it part of what it is, you
Yeah.
know. But that's seeing the world from a different perspective is, I think, one of a really interesting gift that
Hmm.
someone can have. So thank you for
Exactly.
sharing that.
Thank you.
Well, Dorian, that wraps up our interview for today, but thank you again so much for sharing your experience with us. And we are so happy that you were able to be here.
Thank you for having me. Have a good day, Kelly.
You as well. And we will see you again here at the space.